There was none of that. Basically, it came over a radio. You had a little pad of paper in the middle of your car. You wrote down the address real quick. You had a Thomas guide.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Shit, and 50,000 page Thomas guide.
So many pages in there. And then somebody would steal a page.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't steal that out of your page, right? They would steal that out of
like,
the public
what?
one. Right.
Now I can't go to 7 square blocks of the city, even if I want to.
Right. These ones we would mark up and tab.
Okay.
So that it was a little easier to access.
Okay, so you got a little bit of like filing in there.
But you want to talk about having a heart attack, you know? I'm trying to find this and realizing this is a situation that's time is of the essence. But you would get to these, you would, you know, lights and siren, the adrenaline's pumping, and you're going, and you're hoping and making a wrong left turn or something, and finally getting to the home. And in this scenario I'm telling you about, it was a child, very young, had already been it was deceased.
Oh.
When I got there, for whatever reason, panic, whatever, no one had gone into the pool. I think the scenario was the mother couldn't swim, so she was on the steps standing there. You know, got rid of the equipment I could, jumped in the water, got the baby out. The baby was very obviously gone. But even in that scenario, I remember administering CPR just for the optics of it.
Yeah.
You know, just to show I'm doing everything I can, because you want to talk about pain and panic. You know, you observe a mother, which is another thing that was frequent and very difficult to deal with, is watching that pain and panic. So I remember giving CPR to a child that was clearly gone until the fire department got there. And they usually take a while because we're on the streets, so we get there really quick. Any 911 call comes in, goes to the police department. They dispatch a cop, and they call the fire department,
and fire department, you got to get 8 guys on the truck. It's so hard to get 8 guys to do anything. You know, if you've ever been to Vegas or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you try to get guys to go do anything, it's like nearly impossible. Wow, man. Oh my God, right? There's so many moments in there. Like, you've gotten this child out of the pool. You are like now almost returning this child to the mother and physically bringing, you know, like they expect you to be able to solve.
Essentially, yes, there's hope, you know, but it's the optics. It's just, I'm doing everything I can. In those kind of situations, the panic and the pain is so overwhelming, and that's something people don't take into consideration in police work. It happens a lot. There's a lot of, I could tell you so many scenarios like that where you know, you're doing everything you can, even though there's just not a lot.
Right, you're just a human.
Yes, and what they don't teach you, at least they didn't when I started in the academy, number one killer cops is suicide. They just
have a gun.
Yes.
So you're halfway there if you want to. Gosh.
God, we had a guy that was in the police department right next to us. Ended up getting to his car, and with the duty shotgun, blew his head off right before he went out for the shift explosive side. But the number one killer is cops. They never tell you that. They never talk about mental health. I went through the entire academy. They taught me how to put on a tourniquet, heal a sucking chest wound. They taught me so many things, but they never made one mention of how to work with mental.
Wow.
You know, they never said suicide is number one killer. I think that's changed. I know it's changed, but it's getting a lot better. But at that point, there was no mention of that. And these things accumulate. I'm giving you one portion of one day.
Oh, I can't imagine, especially like, you know, like I grew up with a lot of childhood trauma, and a lot of people have, right? And it's really common, and that is tough enough to deal with in regular life as it comes up later and you realize the ways that it affects you as an adult, right?
Yes.
I can't imagine whatever traumas you already have or things that could have happened in your past, and then you're now just engulfed in this. You're like do you feel like a dam for trauma for people? Like, do you feel like a reciprocal for it? Yeah, because there's so many things, and then you just have to go on to the next call. Is there?
It depends. You know, people don't take it. It's just, there's no way to really understand all the things that you experience just in shift.
Right.
Let alone over a 20-year career, especially if you're working different assignments. I could tell you so many stories. If you could ask questions, I'll think of something. I'll tell you a story that you'll just go like, "Holy crap!" You know, from the simplest thing of, I had a old lady that was at a church meeting at El Torito. There used to be an El Torito in Whittier, and she ended up collapsing. She had a heart attack. And we got the call, and we get there, and by the time we got there, there's a bunch of old women that are in a circle, and they're
already all betting on it, probably.
well, they're doing, I think they're doing tongues, you know, they're praying and tongues and all kinds of craziness going on, but no one's doing anything. And I remember giving this lady, and at that point we had these respirators where it's like a bag with, I think goes over the face, so you don't have to put your mouth on. Well, I had ran in and forgot it because it was in the trunk. So this is another woman that I gave CPR, going back to more CPR stuff, and she ended up vomiting in my mouth. Where my mouth was on hers in a way that it forced past my throat. So I vomited immediately when I came up off of her, on top of her. The entire scenario in itself, now I laugh about it when I tell the story.
Yeah.
But it was just traumatic, man. The whole thing was just traumatic. They ended up passing. They transported stuff. But the whole situation, I'm giving you minor ones, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, I'm sure. She vomits into you, you vomit into her. I mean, I think that's a
honor.
Yeah, that's a wedding in some countries. I feel like, you know, I don't know what some of the rituals are, but I think if you're in like Laos or something, that you guys are hooked. You guys are hitched. But she came back at that moment and survived for that moment.
Fire department got there. Apparently she had a pulse when she left, so I was feeling pretty good. But I found at the end of the shift that she had passed. But there's so many.
So tell me, give me a call. Like, give me the first call where you have to go into a place. Like, what's it like when you have to walk up with your weapon out? That has to seem crazy, because then you're like saying, okay, I'm in control. It gives other people a sense that you're in control of everything.
I guess it does. Things have changed, you know. Things have changed for law enforcement. When I first started, I started right at the Rodney King time.
Okay.
That's right when I started. So when I got into law enforcement and I was a rookie, things were starting to change. They were, you know, people want the world policed. They just don't want to know how it's policed.
That's true.
And with technology, there's come the ability to see more of what policing is. And at that point, with the Rodney King thing, things started to change in law enforcement. They started to change the process because police work was really hard to look at. You know what I mean? And that dissemination of that information wasn't very prevalent because you didn't have social media, podcasts, and all the different things that we have now. So when I started, it really started to change as far as how we address things. You will always hear people complain about, oh, he gave me a traffic ticket. When he walked up to the car, he had his hand on his gun. You know, and that is just a routine part of your training, is that you have no idea what you're walking up to. You walk up to you pull someone over for speeding, and you walk up to their car. You have no idea what you're walking up to. You don't know who it is. You don't know what they've done. You don't know where they came from. You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had an officer that did a traffic stop, and there was a body in the trunk.
Oh, wow.
You know, he gave the ticket and left. The only reason we found that out is he got pulled over again. They found this ticket going, this guy's got pulled over an hour ago, and they ended up finding the body in the trunk.
So the first guy didn't find the body?
No.
Oh.
No. So the guy thought he got away, but he got pulled over again. But the whole gun concept of it is things happen fast, man. Things happen fast. You know, you'll die in 100th of a second. You know, people don't realize that. That's how you put your hands on the steering wheel, yada, yada, all the things that we say for our safety. And there's this expectation by the public of, if someone comes at you with a baseball bat, high as a kite, sweating, shirt off, crazy, you know, and the expectation for the public is, well, you got to get a baseball bat and you got to fight him with a baseball bat.
Right.
It's got to be fair. You know, you shot him, all you had was a baseball bat. And for me, guys that are cops, you hear that and you just go, that's insane. Do you really have an expectation of me to get in a baseball bat fight?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not here. The only thing a cop's trying to do is trying to stop the situation. He's trying to eliminate the threat.
Right. If there's some dude roving around with a baseball bat, I think you got to take him out the game.
Depending on the scenario, like anybody, if you're in your home and someone breaks into your home, you still have someone breaks in your home in the middle of the night today, you still have an obligation to prove that you were in fear for your life. Wow. So if there's some guy standing in your bedroom and you wake up and you look and there's a guy standing there and you grab your gun and you eliminate the threat, you're still going to go to court and they're still going to try to prove that you were not in fear for your life.
Who's going to try to prove that? Is that more lawyers or is that more the actual criminal because he doesn't want to go to jail?
It's just a whole process. It's going to go to the detective. Detective's going to take it to the district attorney. District attorney's going to take a look at it and make a decision. Is this something that did this guy violate the law? Was he justified shooting this individual? So in that process, they'll look at it, you know, where was he shot? Was he shot in the back? Was he shot which there's an argument for that. Someone breaks into your house, you see them, you're scared, they take off running, you chase after them with a gun, and you end up shooting at them in the living room as they're going for the back door. You're all of a sudden you're up for murder.
Good point.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's the whole thought process of that is, I don't want this guy to leave. What if he comes back? I'll never be able to sleep again. You know what I mean? There's a justification on your part. It's clear.
This holiday season, you know, if you're looking for a new gift that will inspire somebody and help broaden their life and branch their life out verbally, then you want to look at Babbel. That's right. Babbel is the language learning app that's sold more than 10 million subscriptions. And that's a lot. Think of 10 million people learning something. And think of it being a language. And bam, that's Babbel. With Babbel, you only need 10 minutes to complete a lesson, so you can start having real-life conversations in a new language in as little as 3 weeks. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. Right now, get up to 55% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/Theo. That's babbel.com/THEO for up to 55% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. You know, I waste money on different subscriptions, I notice. You know, I got a subscription the other day. I realized I accidentally subscribed to, it was like Sherman's shoestrings or something. And they start sending you separate pairs of strings, you know, shoestrings. Just, you know, you got I got 90 feet of shoestrings at the house now. And I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to unsubscribe. That's the problem. I'm wasting money on subscriptions like that. You know, 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. It could be an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. And that adds up. That's why you need to check out Rocket Money. It's the app that shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. That's right. Right now, cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/THEO. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/Theo. Now, can we carry guns in California?
If you have a CCW.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we know if we have that or not?
You have to get it. It's like a license. It's like a fishing license, you know, a little more complex. California's tough. California's tough to get a CCW. You go to Texas, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the logic behind that is, like, I personally believe, I know the big debate right now is guns. No guns. Get rid of guns. That ship has sailed.
Right.
We are
can't
inundated.
get rid of guns. Right.
And if we did do that, we said bring all your guns in, the only guys that are bringing their guns are guys like me.
Yeah.
You know, the bad guys ain't bringing their guns.
No.
So that ship is completely sailed. So the idea for me is I feel like we need more guns. I think we need more guns in good people's hands.
Wow. So how do you know then? Do you what do you say good people? And do we need all types of guns? Like, you see these young kids, or, you know, a lot of these school shooters, you see people getting guns, like these high-powered rifles and stuff. For me, I feel like if you haven't served with that gun, like militarily, I feel like you shouldn't be able to have access to that gun, right? Like, because at least then you're at least putting it in the hands of maybe of someone that has some semblance of purpose, knows how to use it, I guess. I don't know. For some reason, that helps me a little bit think about that kind of stuff. But to think that, like, someone needs an assault rifle, like a 20-year-old, that seems crazy to me.
You know what? It does to me too. I'm not a gun guy. Since I retired, I've got some guns that my dad had since he's passing the safe. I got my one gun I carried on duty. I don't have anymore. Obviously, a lot of cops are gun guys. A lot of guys have AR-15s, you know, you name it, MP5s all the way down. I don't see the necessity for them. Again, you're going back to the problem. The problem is we can't get rid of them because all we'll be doing is taking them from the good people.
Right.
And now we got a whole bunch of, and when I say bad people, just people that would use that gun in a negative way.
Right.
you know, in the commission of crimes or whatever. So again, that ship has sailed. I'm not a hunter. I can't imagine killing anything. I even have a hard time fishing. You know, I'm not that guy. But their justification always is hunting. Is it necessary? No. But I mean, it's a waste of time. The ship sailed. You know, we just have to deal with what we have now. There's no collecting guns, not in this country.
Yeah, I agree. It seems, it just seems almost like a battle cry that people, it almost seems like people use it to just incite, like it's a nice dream.
Yes.
But it's just unrealistic. And also this country was kind of founded on somebody pulling a gun on somebody that didn't have a gun. I feel like maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there, but if like troops pulled the guns on the Indians, and then they were, I just wonder if how much of that really goes over through time too, you know?
Well, I think the big argument for gun nuts is that it's the government, you know what I mean? To never allow that situation to happen again, where this power that is policing us,
that makes sense too,
can inflict their will on us.
Well, that makes sense too, especially now with like social media platforms, like people, you can't even say certain things.
Yes.
So people's voices have really been, I'm not saying they've been ceased because we have a voice here today, but they've certainly been corralled and earmarked with expectations, I feel like. So at that point, you're going to have a really tough time if people don't even have their voice anymore to take people's guns. You're just going to have a tough time doing it.
It's just a conversation. It's a waste of time.
Right.
It's like it's across the board. All those conversations. The big conversation now, end racism. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could end racism? But we're never going to.
Yeah.
It's always going to be here. So we need to. That cry needs to change. It needs to be an individual accountability. That is the only path that we have. Is individual accountability.
Yeah.
You know, there's always going to be that. You know?
Yeah. Is that your phone?
Yeah.
It's okay. Do you need it to be on?
I
Well, a few minutes ago, it made that sound and made me nervous. I thought I had a damn life alert bracelet, and I forgot about it. So tell me this. Tell me about. We'll get back into some of this stuff, man. And it's really interesting. And thank you so much for sharing your inside information and just some of your insight. You know.
My pleasure.
So take me on some of the drug stories, because that's the part that seems kind of crazy to me. You ever roll up on some people and they're just yacked out of their brain, bro? And it's that late night hour, you know, maybe there's some hookers lurking or something, like, because I've been there myself. So I'm just wondering I've never had it where the cops show up, you know? So I'm just wondering, there's that weird edge though where you're like, damn, a cop, you know?
I've had in narcs and out of narcotics. I'll give you a patrol one. Very early on, middle of the day, I remember it was hot, it was summer. We got a call about an individual in the middle of an intersection naked. So we drive down to the intersection, and we're talking about a busy. I had started in South Central, busy intersection, middle of the day, huge dude in the middle of the intersection, butt naked, covered in sweat.
Damn.
Going in circles, which was causing, in the middle of the intersection, people to slow as they were going through. So what he was doing as they slowed, he would run up to their car and try to dive through their window or break the window out.
Oh, wow.
And then people would panic and take off and leave. This was back when I started, and PCP was a big deal in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And based on what I saw, that's pretty common. Guys on PCP to shed their clothes.
And was it was that more of a drug? Some drugs are for certain, or used more in certain communities. Was it more of a black community drug, a white community drug? Was it more of a poor drug, a rich drug?
It was a black community, Hispanic community.
Yeah.
Again, I can't.
Right, I know that's not definitive, but yeah.
But the problem with that, for me to tell you, I'll tell you what it was, and that's what I experienced in the neighborhoods. But I started in a black community. I was in South Central, and I moved on to Whittier, which was a Hispanic community. So Whittier was a little bit more mixed, but predominantly Hispanic. So my interpretation of any of this is just what I experienced. I can't tell you much more.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it.
So yes, it was very prevalent in the black community at that time. They used to smoke sherms. They used to taste.
Yeah, that's what I would hear. I've seen it on movies and stuff. They would feature that on movies, I remember.
Crazy.
Wow.
That shit was crazy, and that shit really died off. It died off quick. By the time
were they marching or dancing? Was there any kind of like fluidity to it? Was it like capoeira kind of, or was it like just like a maniac, like a wrestler coming into the ring? Like, was there any
fucking maniacs?
Wow.
Yeah, completely, totally out of control. Completely and totally being conscious, they were totally incoherent.
Wow.
There was no reasoning with them, and they were extraordinarily strong. That drug would bring out extraordinary strength.
Yeah.
So when we pulled up and I recognized this and I saw there was a situation where there was a threat to the public because this guy's trying to get into cars and people are still trying to pass. They're still trying to go through the intersection, even though there's this naked, dude in the middle of it. So what I end up doing is just driving around this guy in circles, clearing the intersection with my lights and siren on, and all that noise and lights and the confusion kind of kept him in the middle. It kept him in the middle. He would walk a little bit, but I kept doing these circles until more police officers got there. And the good thing about Los Angeles is that when you call for help, there's so many neighboring police agencies, sheriffs, LAPD, yada, yada, that they're there quick, and a lot. And we had a lot of police officers quick. So what we ended up doing is getting out of the car and kind of circling this guy. Well, now it's on, because there's not a lot that we can do. And this is back in the day when we didn't have a lot of really efficient, less than lethal stuff.
Right.
I mean, they used to issue SAPs, which is crazy.
What is that?
A SAP is it's a little leather club.
Bring it up, Zach. Let's look at it.
Yeah, it's a little leather club that has sand in it. That sole purpose was just to beat on somebody.
Wow.
And the police uniforms had a little pocket in the back of the leg, and you put the SAP in there. They even had SAP gloves where you'd put them on and had the sand and the thing. Which, looking back now, yeah, there's all kinds of different examples of a SAP.
Those things hurt?
Yeah, those things are brutal, and they're compact, and they were very effective if they were used in the right scenario. It's totally outdated. They're totally gone now. We've found much better ways to address situations, but back in the day, that's what they gave you.
And how long was it? How long is
It's
it?
like a couple feet.
Oh, okay,
Not
damn.
that long. Something you can carry on you. But standard issue. Even then, it went to the baton, which some people still carry, but the baton's becoming extinct because the baton is it's just the dynamic of the way it looks being used. It's just ugly.
Oh yeah, I agree. The optics of it.
The optics is tough.
And my friend Chad got a job after Katrina. They were hiring anybody to be security, right? Because they needed, everything was unsecure, and he only weighed probably 95 pounds or something. He was small. I think he was like a premature baby or something, or I don't know if he was premature. He was kind of immature, but I guess he was premature or whatever. But he probably had 7 months on him, gestating, And so when they gave him that billy club, it weighed him down so much.
Yeah.
Just because of how strong he was, that after like a week, it had like almost dislocated his hip just walking around. So he had to quit.
Yeah.
But
that's a tool that died really after Rodney King. They still have them. They still carry them. They still train a lot in them, but it's just bad optics.
Yeah, the optics of that went down after that. Okay, so go on.
So anyways, we got this guy circled.
You got the bull in the china shop, man.
Yeah, and this guy is nuts. So now the situation is that, again, police work a lot. Even back then, it's optics.
Right.
Everyone's watching you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you not only have the dynamic of I'm dealing with a guy, and if I remember him, he was big, and I'm a big guy, and I remember this guy was big, man. And it was just intimidating, and he's high as a kite, and he's sweating, and he's growling, and the whole thing. So this is not going to be a simple situation. Again, didn't have the tasers. We didn't have those things.
What about a net?
Didn't have a net. There's a lot of less than lethal stuff that they're introducing now that we just didn't have it back then,
Yeah.
And I guess it was because it's like anything, it's evolution.
Right, you don't need it till you need it.
Or you don't need it until whatever you had before is no longer socially acceptable.
Right.
Rodney King pretty much killed the baton.
It really did, huh?
It really did. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They found better ways. And we didn't have it back then, so now the situation was so we're gonna have to bum rush this guy. We're all gonna have to go in and get this guy. I actually had this scenario twice. Well, in police work, the newest guys get the worst assignments. Unfortunately, in that scenario right there, it was a lot of different agencies, so everyone didn't know. So I remember the sergeant pointing out guys that were obviously new, and they essentially rushed this guy who was completely naked on a 100+ degree day on the asphalt in the middle of an intersection in Los Angeles, and it was on.
Wow.
Man, I mean, it was on for a while. And then once one guy got him to the ground, and everyone gets in. And even when you can only have so many people involved just because of space factor. You know what I mean? And even with having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in this guy, it took 15, 20 minutes to get him in custody, to actually get his hands behind his back and get handcuffs on him.
Right.
And by the time that shit's done, you're covered in all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
You've been out there. Yeah, you're good. Yeah. And especially when you guys all go running at him, I bet it's almost like spin the bottle. Like the last thing you want to get is the guy who runs right at, straight at his wiener.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Totally. The other scenario I have in that, to make it real quick, we had a guy that we got a call, someone saw a guy looking through their window. A little girl saw a guy looking through her window.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Peeping Tom.
Essentially, we get to the house. We get to there. She shows us the window. We find the window. Below the window, there's semen.
Oh.
So this guy had been looking through the window at the little girl and you know, doing his business.
Yeah, masturbating.
There you go. And so we ended up looking for the guy. We ended up finding him in some bushes not too far away. Again, white guy, creepy, tall, totally naked.
Yeah.
And his testicles were the size of a softball in purple. And what we later found out is he had tied a kite string around the base of his balls. And for some reason, that did something for him. But what it did do is it made his balls really swell up.
Yeah.
And it was visible. So you got a guy that's completely sweaty. He's not coming out of the bushes. You see he's got big, giant purple testicles. That something's wrong. Again, got all the officers there, circled it. Well, at that point, I was the youngest. This was just our police department.
Yeah, boy.
So they
go on in
there and get this guy out. So
damn, what?
I had to spend about 5 minutes wrestling a dude that's naked with big, giant purple balls and a kite string around it, dripping in sweat, while all my peers and friends were around me pointing and laughing. Literally. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then at the end of it, when I booked him in, I had to cut the string off of him.
Oh, come on.
Can't put him in the jail cell with that on.
Like it's a grand opening or something.
Yeah. I actually had to cut the string off and book it in as evidence.
Oh, man. And did those nuts subside once you took that string off them?
I don't remember. That was the only visual I was trying not to deal with, you know. I remember it being very difficult to get those scissors in there, you know. I had to cut that thing off. Can't give him scissors and tell him to do it. It's a situation where you just can't do that. Booking people was tough.
Yeah.
I had a homeless guy that I booked, and you have to do a strip search on everybody.
No.
Oh yeah, you can't put them in the cell. You can't put them in the cell without doing a strip search. You got to make sure they don't have anything that they're going to hurt themselves or others with. So every single guy that you arrest, you essentially see the crack of their ass.
Oh.
You see him naked. You know, I had a homeless guy where got him naked and squat and cough. And when he squat, we have him turn the opposite way. We have him squat and we have him cough and spread their butt cheeks to make sure they don't have anything in their butt.
Oh, yeah.
And he had heroin balloons all matted up in his ass hair. Where he had obviously put them in there to hide them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they're little colorful balloons. That's how they would store the heroin. They put it inside deflated balloons. So we told him, you need to pull those out. You pull those out. And the guy wouldn't do it. You know, fuck you, you do it. You get him out, which is a great move on his part. At that point, I was a rookie, so I had the assignment of getting heroin balloons out of this dude's butt hair.
Damn, that's that Colombian birthday party, dude. Right
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Have you ever had to get, how much drugs can people put in their butt?
I guess that depends on who it is. We had a guy that tried to, in the jail, he keistered a racquetball, which he had slid open and put the drugs inside of it and then put it up his butt.
A racquetball. What is it?
A racquetball, you know, a racquetball is like this little smaller than a tennis ball.
Racquetball.
You know, racquetball?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's just not registering.
They're blue, rubber.
Oh, yeah. You got that into his butt?
Got in his butt.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that's not relatively too big I've seen guys with Coke bottles that they put in there. A guy put a Coke bottle in his butt, but it was open. It was an open Coke bottle, but when he put in for the suction, when he tried to pull it out, he couldn't get it out.
Oh.
It formed a suction issue, so we had to transport this guy to the hospital to have it in the emergency room surgically removed.
Oh man, that'll make you switch to Pepsi, huh? But also, that's like that Sir Galahad or something. What's the one where they try to pull the thing out of
the Sword in the Stone?
Yeah, it's like Sword in the Stone.
Yeah. Pretty humiliating situation. Tough ride to the hospital. I felt for the guy, you know.
And you can't sit down. That's got to be the worst thing.
He's on his hands
keep
and knees.
thinking you can sit down, and then every time you go to sit down, you realize.
Humiliating. Imagine having to walk into an emergency room, you know.
Yeah.
To get a Coke bottle removed from your.
Yeah, and you have to kind of walk in like kind of. Yeah, I would probably. Yeah, and if it's glass, huh?
It's glass.
Oh, that's so risky.
Yeah.
God, it's almost like that. It's like Don't Wake the Baby or one of those games. I feel like it has like a real game show element to it.
Yeah.
That is the most Japanese game show element to it I've ever heard. You know, I feel like.
It's the thing about police work that people don't realize is that it's just the craziest shit. You know, it's just they deal with the craziest shit.
People don't realize that.
They don't even think about it. They watch the movies. There's an infatuation with police work. You watch all these movies that you see. None of them really There's a few. There's a show called The Southland, which actually one of our officers' wife was in the business, and she was somehow involved, and you could tell that someone knew about police work was involved. But when you watch like Training Day and all the other stuff, they're great entertainment, but people think that's real.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's really like. That's why these opportunities for someone like me to come, and I have no ties. I'm retired. I want to do guys right that are in the job. This gives me an opportunity to explain, this is what's really like.
So any day it could be absolutely anything. Like, it's like the levels of things, it almost feels too vast.
It is. I loved the job. By the time I got out, I had to get out because where your life changes. I had a child, and seeing dead children, just all the different things that you experience as life goes on. It starts to wear you. It starts to beat you down. That's why cops retire at 50. You got to get out mentally. You got to get out. It's just too much. It's too much. The physical aspect's not that big of a deal, but the mental is. You see everything. I mean, I could tell you.
What about a jumper? You get a jumper?
No, there was nowhere where I was in Whittier. There was nothing that high.
Oh yeah.
Whittier's pretty flat. Here's a crazy scenario that we dealt with. We had a call middle of the night of a female bleeding profusely. We got to the house, and this dude answers the door, and he is a tweaker. I mean, this guy is high as a kite, stereotypical.
Oh yeah, fucking Radio Shack manager. Yeah.
Totally, shirt off, tripping out. Just came back, probably collecting copper on his bike.
And how do they answer the door? Is it always like? Is there one common way that tweakers answer the door? Like, what's
no, not really. They don't answer the door. Usually, you just see the blinds open a little bit. Bam, and you can see, okay, they're inside. But this guy answered the door because he needed us.
Okay.
The situation was that he was with his girlfriend, and they were both high as a kite. It's like 4 a.m. And when we walked in, she's laying on the floor in the living room, and there's blood everywhere. There's blood all over her legs, and she's holding an old nasty t-shirt on her crotch. And this t-shirt is pretty saturated. So when we start talking to this guy in his tweaker way, he starts to explain to us that they were being intimate, and during that they had gotten a dildo, a really large purple dildo, and he had taken a coat hanger, those old school metal coat hangers, and he had unwound it. You know how when you if you're doing
cooking marshmallows,
how you do that? Well, he essentially made it like that, but he took the end of that, the pokey end, and he stuck it into the end of the dildo, and then he bent that coat hanger so it was a handle. So he was using that on his girlfriend.
Right. So he was
going.
Yeah. He was getting in there and doing what he could. Yeah.
Yeah. He was making it happen.
He was trying to jumpstart that cooch. Yeah.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was those pokey ends ended up coming through the side of the dildo. So when he was doing it, he was essentially cheese grating her insides.
I feel like right now my pussy hurts.
Hell yeah, it does. To this day, it bothers me.
I don't even have a pussy.
Right? To this day, it hurts me. But God. So when he described, and when he held that, we said, "Where is it? Where's the item?" And when he went and got it and held it up, there was literally tissue. There was tissue that was on the thing. So this was bad. This is a situation that was bad, but that's about as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah. Do you press like a? Is it like a button you press when it gets too bad?
No.
Who do you call when it gets too bad?
You know what you end up doing when it gets too bad? What cops end up doing? They end up fucking joking about it.
Wow.
They end up. It's a coping mechanism, man, and it just happens. And I can remember in that scenario, the hardest part in that scenario. I had been on for quite a while, and the guy I was with had been on for quite a while as well. In that specific scenario, the hardest part for us was not to start laughing.
Wow.
Because it
was
was just so fucking crazy. It was just so crazy. He's standing in the living room with 2 tweakers. One's bleeding profusely. He's holding up, it's got tissue. The other problem is that we have a responsibility to render aid.
Yeah.
Civil liability is a big deal. When you're a cop, at any given time, you can lose everything because you fail to follow one part of your job description. Rendering aid is one of them. So I remember looking at the guy who had less time on me beside going, now you know what the fuck you got to do, right? You got to apply pressure, man.
And he's got to do it because he's younger.
He's younger. Yeah. You got, well, he less time on.
Yeah, less time on.
Yeah. So I was, and that conversation, looking at your buddy and saying, look at you, you got to do this, man. The difficulty in not laughing in that situation, that both of you, like your face, and him looking at me and going, there's no fucking way. There's just no fucking way I'm going to do this, dude. And you going, no, you have to do this.
Wow.
Luckily, we were able to, we were having such a hard time dealing with not laughing that it went on just long enough that we heard sirens, and it was the fire department, you know, and at that point it's like, yeah, this is all you guys, man.
Dang.
This is all you guys.
Dude, that's so interesting. So there must be such bonds kind of that are formed out there between cops. Are there?
Yeah.
Because I would just feel you're going through such insane situations, you know? And it's so interesting that you guys use humor to cope, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing why a lot of comedians get into things, you know? Things were traumatic or some type of way, and so they use humor to survive. You know, I think it's amazing that Mother Nature uses that as like a governor on us, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you get so far, you just laugh. I think it's why the Joker laughs in the Joker movies, because at a certain point he's just so mad that there's nothing left to do but laugh at it, you know?
Pretty much. The situations are so outrageous, and like you said, as far as the bonds, please, there is strong bonds, and I'm married, love my wife, we've been together for 20 years. We talk about everything. My best friend. My entire career, I never went home and I never discussed anything with her. Literally never discussed anything. There was never a good time to come home and say, hey, you know, I saw a fucking kid die today. You know, all the things that went on during the day, unless it was like really light and really fun, I never told her anything traumatic.
Wow.
Because it's just never a good time. You know, why would I want her to experience these, especially as time goes on, these horrific things? So the only people you do talk about that with are these guys that you're doing it with. And 9 times out of 10, when you do talk about it later, it feels so inappropriate, because it becomes a joke.
Right.
The most horrific situations, they become funny, you know, and anyone else that hears that, it is a hard pill to swallow. You know, it's hard for the general public to go, why the fuck are they laughing?
Right.
You know, what's so funny? You'll see sometimes on TV, I'll see like homicide scenes on TV, and I'll look at, because I'm conscious, I'm aware of this, I'll look at the officers around, and you do it for now on. You'll see, every once in a while, you'll see 2 guys, and there'll be horrific murder scene, shootings, whatever, and there's be 2 fucking cops right there, and they'll be laughing.
Wow.
You know, they'll be communicating together, and they'll be laughing, and you go like, oh, dude, that's such bad optics. But you totally understand it.
Right.
You know, the rest of the world doesn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another night of epic fights is here. It's time to fist up. It's time to stay fisting, baby. I'm talking about UFC 282. It's an action-packed fight card. My boy Bryce Mitchell is going to be on there. He's been a 2-time guest here on the pod. I'll be throwing down on this one with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. So check this out right now. If you like to gamble and you can do it safely, that everyone can earn up to a 50% boost when you place a same-game parlay on UFC 282. Download the app now. Use promo code THEO. Bet $5 pre-fight money line on any fighter to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code THEO this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Well, baldness. People are going bald. Look out of your window. What's happening? Baldness. I saw a dang cat the other day, and he was damn balded out. Jesus. That's why Keeps can help you. Keeps. There are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss, and Keeps offers them both. Convenient virtual consultations with a licensed medical provider and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. That's Keeps. You don't have to leave your home. God, imagine staying in your home, getting better hair, and finally coming out when you're haired up. I mean, you're going to be dang haired up. Bigfoot's going to, Sasquatch will be out there wanting to know what conditioner you're using. That's right. Keeps has everything your hair needs delivered straight to your door with discreet packaging and proven results. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, Go to keeps.com/THEO to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/Theo to get your first month free. Keeps.com/Theo. Dude, and there's so much pressure on you guys. Like, what was that kind of like? What has that been like? Like, the pressure that here's a young man who didn't grow up with any amazing or special skills. And now they're in charge of kind of being a jury at certain times, being like immediate aid, going into something that they don't really know what's going on half the time. That person is required or expected to have all these answers, you know, and they have these tools on their belt that some of them are lethal that they're supposed to use. Jesus, man.
There's a tremendous amount of training that cops get as far as all the stuff that you have and how to use it. As far as the pressure, like I told you earlier, you know, number one killer of cops is suicide.
Yeah.
People have always wanted. People want to go to bed at night and close their eyes and feel they're safe. That's the only reason we all sleep at night, because we think there's people out there that are keeping us safe. You know, there is a.
That's a really good point, isn't it?
It is.
The second that the police are gone, somebody in your house is going to have to be at your window.
Which is the craziest part of what's going on lately. It's hard to watch. I've escaped it. You know, even after Rodney King, there was a push, and I'm down for the push.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down for everything always getting better. We can, in any facet, we can get better. We can do this better. But this is a very complex job that you can't identify everything you're going to come in contact with. There's no way to be ready for everything that happens.
No.
There's just no possible way in this job.
Right.
And a large portion of these things that you're coming in contact with are life and death. You know, they're brutal. You know, a mom walking with her child and saw a car coming. It was going to run the red light. She jumped back in the thing and lost her grip on her hip. Well, lost her grip on him, and he got hit and sucked up into the wheel well. And you know, you get there, and there is no way to properly handle that situation. You know what I mean? There's nothing that can be done, and people don't understand that aspect of police work. You know, they ask a lot of police. When I watch what was happening, when I watch those videos of what was going on, and you saw it spray painted all over, that ACAB, all cops are bad.
Are you talking about during BLM? Or are you talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All cops are bad. You know, and it was everywhere, and there was just the concerted push of demonizing a million people, and we have done that, but we don't really do that to any other profession like we do cops.
Yeah.
There's a ton of bad doctors.
Oh, horrible.
Ton of bad doctors just writing prescriptions. Dude, I used to catch them all the time, man. Fishers, they would just, what do you want? 150 oxy, here you go. Bam, bam, just killing people left and right, you know, moralists, all for money. We've never had a concerted effort of demonizing doctors, because the world feels like we need doctors, but they don't feel that way about police. Hell, they were saying, get rid of the cops.
Yeah, that was insane.
Insane.
It's one of the reasons why I bought a house in Nashville about 1.5 years ago, just because I was pretty sure it was a place where people could carry weapons on their own. So I just wanted there to be, I don't know. I know that there's people that like to hunt, and I would rather have some of them be around.
Sure.
In case things get, or at least somebody, you know, somebody rolls into a diner, you know, with a, you know, with a weapon, there's going to be 7 other guys in there.
Absolutely.
Who are going to find a way to finish their fucking eggs that morning.
Which is what we were talking about earlier. You know, I believe that we need more. It's the only solution. We need more guns in more good people's hands at all times. Yeah. More CCWs. You know, I really, truly believe that's...
What is CCW?
Carry concealed weapons license.
Yeah.
Carry concealed weapon.
Yeah, I that's the thing. Well, it's funny because it's not even... I never even consciously made that choice, really. I just said, okay, I need to be in a place where I know that someone around me can have a weapon.
Yes.
And I can if I need to.
Yes. Yeah.
It was almost like a subconscious choice, really.
Yes. Which is the issue with, you know, the way the community, the way they've, this concerted effort, and there's all kinds of reasons why it occurred, which
of course
none of us want to get in, but this effort to demonize these good people. I'll be honest, man. I did police work for 20 years. It doesn't occupy me. I don't have a gun on me right now. I don't carry a gun because I feel like I don't need to. Police work does not define me, but some of the best people I've ever met were cops.
Yeah.
Just really solid. And we came from all different places. How I got there was much different than the way most got. We were totally opposite. Yeah, there is a lot of guys that you see, like they probably got their ass kicked through high school and became cops. But I found the majority of those guys, they were good dudes. There was guys that weren't, but within police departments, especially now, they really police themselves and contain or get rid of those people. They don't want that either.
Right.
And a lot of cops are just really solid human beings. And the world just recently, they tried to turn on them in their entirety. They did exactly what they said that is happening to other people. They completely stereotyped 1 million people.
Yeah, it's crazy. Right. It's like people saying don't stereotype, but then we're going to stereotype this huge group of people that are keeping us safe.
And now we're less safe than we've ever been.
Are we really? I was going to ask you that. Are we less safe than we've ever been?
Absolutely. The whole idea of police work, when I started, the whole idea of police work in its entirety was proactive policing, man. Get out there and find crime before it occurs. I want you to shake cars. Shake cars means pull them over, find out what's going on, find out if they got stuff there. I want you to
frisk, tickle.
Yes, and there's a whole dynamic to that that's always in debate of like, oh, he stopped me because of this or he stopped me because of that, which is, it's really not true, but it's too long of an explanation for that. But the whole idea of police work is to find the crimes before they occurred. And now what has happened with the demonizing of police and the way that they have unfairly attacked them, like I said, the expectation is of, oh man, he only had a baseball bat and you shot him.
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about? Like, this wasn't even a conversation. That was stomped down back in the day. That wasn't allowed to go very far because that's ridiculous.
Right.
But now guys are losing their jobs. They're not just losing their jobs, they're going to jail. So now literally, I still have a good friend of mine is the chief of the police department that I worked at now. And they're literally telling police officers, essentially, I only want you to deal with what we have to deal with. So cops aren't out there doing proactive policing anymore. They're not out there actively looking for stuff because they're literally scared that no matter what they do, the world's going to turn on them based on a video clip.
Yeah.
Or a concerted effort once that video clip is seen of all these people in high power positions that have the venue to disseminate all this information to turn on them and say, this guy did this. I can give you so many examples, which I'm not, but of cops being unjustifiably tried and convicted on television.
Wow.
Where they've said, this guy is a bad person and look at what he did.
Yeah, take me through one. It's interesting.
Because
I agree with you. I agree. It's impossible. How do you how do you say all of these people? And I wasn't one of the people who jump on that. I'm one of the ilk that it's like, yeah, maybe there's some bad guys here. Maybe there's some people that are untrained or not trained well, but I have always felt like I've had a decent relationship with police unless I was doing something wrong. And in that time, I didn't have the best time with them,
And nobody wants to be held accountable. Even a housewife that gets pulled over for speeding. I mean, I've had women that look like mothers completely lose their shit on me.
Wow.
Just over a ticket. Just completely unreasonable, screaming, yelling, cussing. Don't you got anything fucking better to do? There's crimes going on. And that's just such an ignorant statement to, we have to enforce all laws. There's reasons all laws are in place. But
yeah.
I'm trying to think of one recently. I don't know if you remember this. There was a scenario right after the big incident that occurred where I think it was like in Atlanta or something. There was 2 cops and they were trying to take this guy into custody and it was a drag out fight. They had the whole clip. I mean, they were fighting and the suspect ended up taking the guy's taser. Remember, and he ran and he turned back and he shot the taser towards the cops. Okay, that guy's done. That guy is unequivocally the justification for a police officer to eliminate that threat is
100%.
100%. Unequivocally. Because if you are a person, a cop's job is to identify a crime, to take that person into custody, and to take them before a judge, and to have them processed for the crime. They're not there to administer punishment. I think that's where the problem with some cops gets. Some cops get some guy spits on your face, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
I've had that. My name's Brad White. My name tag said B White. When I worked at South Central, I had a guy actually come up to me, and we were involved in a scenario where I was investigating a crime, and he noticed my name tag, and he decided to go on a tangent about it. I see how it fucking is, Officer B White. You know, it didn't even register with me at that point. I'm all, oh shit, no, my name's Brad, man. You know, my name's Brad, dude.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, you're missing the rad part.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I actually got my name tag changed because of it. I just didn't want to deal with that again.
Sure.
Yeah, I just didn't want to deal with that again.
I'm sure, dude.
But in the scenario that you saw with those two Atlanta cops, I mean, there's just those guys. That guy decided that he was not going to jail.
Right.
And he was going to do anything he needed not to go to jail. And that cop's job is, he can't just go, okay, fuck it. You know, you don't want to go, I'll see you later. Because now that guy loses his job. He has to take this individual in custody. There is no not doing it.
Right, because now if that guy goes and does something immediately down the street,
Done. Civil liability.
civil
police
liability, and the
department,
cops are
everything.
sued.
Cops are sued.
Wow.
People lose trust in the police department. It's just, it's a very difficult dynamic.
Jeez.
So those guys had no choice at that point, but they take this guy into custody. And when you're in a fight like that, when you're in a fight where someone's fighting a cop, I remember when I was a little kid, man, I knew if I run from the cops, I'm getting my ass beat.
Yeah.
That's just how it used to be. You know what I mean? That's how it was. That's my understanding of what it was. But if this guy is doing all of this to get away, he is capable of anything. And when you're in a fight like that as a cop, your thought process is if this guy overwhelms me, he's going to get my gun and I'm done.
Yeah.
It's over. So immediately when someone starts really, truly resisting you physically, a cop's in a fight for his life. And the public doesn't understand that. But if you're fighting a cop, you're going to do whatever it's necessary. You've already demonstrated.
Already crossed that line.
Already crossed that line. I'm going to do whatever it needs to get away. So at that point, you're in a fight for your life. So those cops were so justified. Even though that guy was running away, they started to chase him. When that guy turned and shot that taser at them, the probability of them knowing that that was a taser is minimal. Yeah. Absolutely minimal. And they put that on TV and they demonized those two guys without any kind of a hearing or any true information whatsoever. And it was criminal. It was criminal, but that goes on a lot. And if you notice, you never heard about that again. Because they put that to rest because that was totally justified. And all the powers that be that wanted to use that for their agenda, they even left it alone because it became pretty evident really quick once people started looking at it going like, what are they supposed to do? You know, what is the scenario that's supposed to happen there?
Well, and so how bad is the media in all of this? How much have they become? Because, you know, it's funny, like, it doesn't even seem sometimes like the government is the government anymore. It seems like the government is this LLC kind of, or America's like this LLC of just like corporations and capital interests, and that media kind of controls a lot of stuff. I mean, how scary is it to you guys? Because the media, somebody puts out a clip, some group uses it to kind of push their narrative or something like that. And then police are like, what are we supposed to do? You know, it almost doesn't leave you a place to do anything. You know, is the media like, does it sometimes feel like the media is not on your side?
Yeah, man, you're going into a whole thing recently that just seems like it's to be such a drawn out topic, but yeah, what's going on now, I never really dealt with. Again, I never had a scenario where it was so high profile that I was dealing with the media on a personal level and have all knowledge of exactly what happened. But it definitely appears like the media right now is using 1 million people. There's about 1 million cops, I think, in America as a tool, you know, they're definitely using it. And people don't ever stop and think that's just a dude that needed a job, that got into this career, that's making a living, that goes home and has a family, is just trying to get back alive and is dealing with crazy shit all fucking day. And he's been dealing with crazy shit for like 15 years. Why are we allowing this? Why are we allowing this to happen? You know, but nobody wants to be the person that stands and raises their hand because that's the next guy. So yeah, I'm not a media fan. I imagine most of America is not a media fan at this point, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. Look, it's one of the reasons why we've been able to start like tertiary media things like this.
Yes.
You know, because mainstream, it was just too
biased.
It's bad.
They give the news got away from telling you what happened, and now they give you their opinion on what happened. and it's based on who that guy is and who's paying that guy or whatever. So,
and it's based a lot of times by people that have grown up in a hypothetical, comfortable type of environment where they've never really they've never needed a cop, really. They've never, except to maybe serve like a divorce paper. They've never really been in an environment where it's like, okay, this is what life is kind of really like for other people,
people got no idea what's going on. People have no idea what's going on in the world. Again, most cops are cynical and calloused, and there's a fucking reason for it, man. Because you spend 20, 30 years of going and dealing with the world shit every single day, you really start getting convinced world's fucked up, man. This is a bad place. I had through my process, I had a baby, and I still to this day go, how selfish was it for me to have a kid? How selfish is that? I know what a shit world this is. I know what he's going to face. I know what could possibly happen. I know what walks the earth. It was so selfish. I wanted a kid so bad. I did it for me. And I never even took into consideration what I've done. He's going to have to, who knows what's going to happen to him?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that could happen to him. If you're a good dad, he's going to look up one day at his dad, and he's going to love his dad so much. And he doesn't get to do that if you don't have him. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
And it will be for him.
I'm just
I know
giving
what
you
you're
one
saying
answer.
too.
Yes,
I feel you
yes.
though. Yeah. And I'm not judging what you're saying. I'm just kind of sharing I'm trying to share something that makes you think positively about it too. I'm sure it's amazing being a dad. But yeah, I could imagine that. You're like, what am I bringing somebody really into?
Because this world to me is tough. This world is ugly. This world, like I said, you don't know what's behind this door. Cops every day get invited into people's homes uninvited. Yeah. You have never been in a home besides a party where people didn't want you there. We would go every day into people's homes that didn't want us there, and they had no choice. So every day we're walking into environments that normal people don't go into.
And is it weird right when you walk in, like where do you stand in the room? That's what I always feel like. Sometimes I'm looking at cops and like, it always seemed like, I don't know where, like, would I stand here? Would I stand here?
There's so much training even in that aspect as far as tactical advantage and how you stand, gun leg back, always they teach you to watch. I went to so many behavior analysis courses where they would teach you based on the way people sit during interviews, if they're telling the truth, or the way someone's acting when they're sitting, of what could possibly occur next. And everything's tactical. Cops do everything for a reason. Like 90% of the time, they'll want to bring people out of their home because that's their environment. We don't know what's in that environment. We don't know what's behind that door.
Yeah.
We don't know what's under that couch cushion. So they try to bring them into the most safe environment that they possibly can, which is usually to bring them out of the house. Everything a cop does on a call is all planned. It's all from training, and there's all a process to it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that people don't even. There's a lot to it.
Man, it's really it just gives me a little bit more of an understanding kind of this should almost be a class, I feel like, in school when kids are growing up,
Yes.
To have like a real, like, I don't give a fuck if I could spell, but if I have an understanding of what the people enforcing my community, what their lives are like, and what my responsibility then as a member of the community could be, that would be really, really valuable, I feel like.
Absolutely. I mean, even cops still need it. Before COVID, after I retired, I went in one of my close friends in the police department, I became a patrol sergeant, and it was a female, most squared away female cop you've ever seen. You just looked at her and she screamed cop. Great cop, good person, totally solid. As time went on, she started to deteriorate mentally. And because my generation had never been taught about it, we would, you just need to sack the fuck up,
Toughen up, Thompson.
That's it. You need a cup of sack the fuck up and let's get back to business.
Yeah.
So we
fucking harden that vulva, buddy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know what it was. Well, long story short, she ended up not showing up for work, and she ended up killing herself. She ended up hanging herself. And I actually went to the house and found her. And with hindsight, looking back at it, there were so many warning signs. There were so many things that she did when she was begging for help. She actually came into the police department at one point and was hysterical and acting crazy. And I had a pretty good relationship with her. So I told my lieutenant, I'll go out and talk to her. And I went out and talked to her. And I remember walking in and going, holy shit, she's going to kill herself. She is so bad.
Right, like even thinking that, but it's almost like this passive weird thing that we just think.
I said it. I said it out loud. She's gonna kill herself. She's that crazy. Things are that bad right now is what I was thinking. And doing what cops did, we made a fucking joke out of it. I remember laughing. And a week later she was dead. You know, and so even with cops, they have to learn about themselves. I was going and doing speaking based on my experience from that and some other things where I was going all over the United States and doing speaking engagements where I was teaching cops just about mental health, man, you know, knowing what can happen and how it happens and how you're not going to be aware that it's happening. And these are the warning signs. And don't fuck around, because you're going to wake up one day. People don't think it'll be them.
And it is.
Yeah.
And it's fast.
Sometimes it is.
Well, I think we could be at this part in society too, in a timeline of society where the receptacles we've been using to corral and to take care of, like the drains, like the sieves, the things that are the things that are the people that are taking care of us, like mental health professionals, cops. It could be we're at this kind of tipping point as a society where it's like we've overburdened them, you know? And, you know, I don't know that, but you start to wonder, like, at what point are we just not able to be the ones to, like, kind of dam or help alleviate whatever, all this kind of whatever trauma or whatever it is, this continuing pieces of pain that are alive in the universe. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
It's kind of ethereal, kind of, I think. I don't know what ethereal means, but
I understand what you're trying to say. They got to do better. We got to do better.
So what can we do then? What can we do for cops? What are we doing? So you said that
oh God,
it's important.
It is important, but I mean, we're so far down the ladder as far as like that question of what can we do for cops. The first thing, just to get on the ladder, I would say, be fair, man. Be fair. You know, think about it. There's 1 million. I'm estimating that, but I think there's like 1 million cops in America. There's 1 million people. What we're talking about? Let's say 1,000 of them are bad people. 1,000 of them. Is it our duty? Is it our job as police officers, or would to identify those people and get rid of them? Absolutely. And I'm not advocating for police. There's no reason for me to.
Right.
I'm being honest with you. I'm not trying to say, oh, cops are this and that, but you need to be fair. You need to be fair with cops. You know, 1,000 of them are bad. Don't go into it with the thought process that you have. Don't participate in what you're seeing. You see people saying, you know, fuck the police, or all cops are bad, or defund the cop. You know, find a way to assist in that process of going, no, you know, that's not right. We need to identify individuals, and we need to have, and people, the argument they'll have is go, well, we can't have one bad cop. You know what I mean? There's too much power. You know, we can't have one bad cop. I agree, but it's also fucking impossible. It's also fucking impossible.
Yeah, it's totally unrealistic, and especially a pressure to put on these people that already have so much pressure on them.
Yes.
And it's not really probably going to change anything. It's just a bunch of battle cry bullshit that doesn't really, in the end, is it really changing anything? You know?
It's making us less safe.
That's a good point.
It's making us less safe. So we do have that, dude. I'm telling you, man, we're less safe.
We are.
We are less safe.
It feels less safe out there.
Yeah, we're less safe. Yes, we are, especially here in LA, we are much less safe.
Wow.
Because we have a double whammy out here. We got now it's shifting into where they're getting district attorneys that we're eliminating crime. We're basically saying that there's
no crime.
There's no crime.
Right, like a crime isn't a real thing. We're not going to press charges for it.
Yeah, like back when I was a cop, like if you went into a CVS and you shoplifted, we would go through a process of identifying, did you go in there with the intent to steal? Which is an easy process to do. Where's your wallet? I don't have a wallet. Where's your form of payment? I don't have any form of payment. I have nothing on me. Well, why'd you go into CVS? Well, it's obviously why you went into CVS. You went in there to steal.
Yeah.
So now it's not just a petty theft. Now it's a burglary because you went in there with the intent to steal, which makes it a different crime.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a process of identifying people doing wrong things and trying to get it to stop. I wasn't a perfect kid. I got arrested when I was a kid. I got arrested several times when I was a kid. You know, fortunately, I came in contact with police officers that from what I remember, were just solid human beings. And I had a demeanor because of the way I was raised, where I was very respectful, even though I was wrong. So I had a really good interaction, even though I was being held accountable. I went to juvenile hall, man.
Damn.
You know, I wasn't really doing anything. I wasn't stealing, or my parents were really strict. I took their car. First time I ever got arrested, I took my parents' car,
That's
you know,
good.
15 years old. Yeah. You know, I wanted to go see my girlfriend. I came home, went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and cops woke me up. My dad called the cops, had me arrested, you know, because cool. his thought process is now we're getting into shit where I'm gonna start holding you accountable. And I used to look at it and go like, oh, Dad, you're such a dick. How could you do that to me? But I look back at it now and go, thank God, because I went through enough stuff where one day I went, that's it. I don't want to live like this. Matter of fact, I want to do the opposite. And all my shit was misdemeanors, and I was able to get rid of it and go through the process of becoming a cop. But it made a big difference for me. When you say like, how do we get rid of that one bad cop? It made a big difference for me where I was legally able to not make mention of the things that occurred to me as a juvenile, because I got it expunged, my record, and it's clearly stated that you do not have to make that available. Okay. They do a whole background. They talk to people, and the people that were in my life at that time, thankfully, didn't make mention of it either. So it was alleviated. So I was able to become a police officer, and it served me well, man, because I knew what it was like to be locked up in an 8x10 room for 23 hours.
Right. You had some semblance of it.
It's a big deal to take away someone's freedom. It's monstrous. It's crippling. You know, I was 16 years old, and I did 6 months in juvenile hall for taking my parents' car.
Damn.
That was back in the day. You know, you could kill somebody and you might not get 6 months now.
Yeah.
You know, but my parents said, we want the maximum, yada, yada. But when I got out and I became a police officer eventually, I kept that. Matter of fact, someone's gonna probably watch this podcast and my buddies are gonna be like, dude, I never knew that about you. But it's just not something that I brought up because it made me feel lesser than the guys I was working with. They had this lifestyle that they deserved to be there, and I really didn't deserve to be there. I just got lucky. But it served me really, really well. I really had an appreciation of that process and what it does to a person. Coming in contact with a cop, being arrested, getting put inside of a jail cell, being there for 23 hours, you know, at a time. I was a kid from Orange County. I got put in a jail cell the first day with this kid. It was an Asian kid. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah, it was an Asian kid that was in there, and we started talking about, what'd you do? And I said, I took my parents' car. And this guy went on the story. He was like a watching gang member, and they were on the run, and they were in a hotel, and they had a revolver, and they had played Russian roulette with it, with a thing, and some dude ended up blowing his head off, and they were scared because the gun was stolen, and they put him in the carpet, and they cut the carpet, they rolled him up in the carpet, and took him in the San Bernardino Mountains and lit him on fire. No. And got away with it for like 6 months.
Oh.
But I shit my pants, man. You know, I mean, when that guy told me that, I was like, holy shit, dude, I was scared to death.
Yeah, fuck, I'm never working in flooring. I know that. But dang, no, that's crazy. If you're in a cell with that dude suddenly, you're like, damn,
as a kid.
Yeah, especially if you're like, this isn't the avenue I want to be going. Like, if this is even the intersection I'm starting to meet up with the world at, I want to do a U-turn. You were talking about local crime and stuff like that, or this type of break-ins and thievery and robbery. We had this thing that just happened yesterday at the Apple Store. Did you see this thing?
No.
And these are these smash and grab things that happen all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, this is somewhere here in California, I think near Tahoe, but at an Apple Store.
And it seems to be, and for some reason, this seems to be like I don't know if this is like it's like a black culture thing. It seems to be a lot of times this is kind of black guys. I know that's a generalization. I'm okay to make that. And I don't mean that in a rate like black people. I'm just saying, I don't know if this is like train robbing is probably like a white crime, you know, like different people have sometimes different crimes in their cultures. I don't know if this.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no way to police this, is there? What do you do here? You hear the people in here like, are we supposed to do something? What do we do? You know?
Well, I do think we have gotten to a point in the world where we are eventually going to have someone with a gun everywhere. Wow. I mean, I'm talking security of some type.
Right.
Like if you go to, like you're talking about like these shootings that they have at schools, we could almost alleviate that tomorrow. We could almost take care of that situation tomorrow. And if you go to Israel and you try to walk onto a elementary school, there are 2 highly trained, highly armed military type personnel, usually more than that are guarding that school.
Wow.
That you can't even take pictures. They won't even let you take pictures. That would completely alleviate the situation that we have. If we put, I know they got like school resource officers, but it's 1 cop and it's big schools.
Yeah, and that's just somebody fucking with a damn whistle. I'm talking about somebody there who's trained.
Yeah, and a couple, highly trained, very visible. If there was a guy right there with a gun, you know, that was in that store. But for some reason, society is still reluctant to go that direction. I understand it. Guns are scary. I understand that aspect of it. But I really feel like it's our only solution. You know, we could alleviate that situation. How do we stop that from going on? The only really way to do that is to hold. That's not the first time those kids come in.
No.
Nobody walks into a Apple store, starts ripping fucking phones off the thing with a packed store. Those kids have committed a lot of crimes. And I guarantee you those kids have been arrested, at least some of them.
Yeah.
And the problem is the accountability is so low. Like my example, you know, I had the ultimate accountability. There's no difference between me and those guys. I'm not, you know.
Right, you're both humans.
We're both humans, you know what I mean? And I was just held accountable, you know, and it changed the way I think. I didn't want that lifestyle. We're not doing it. And people are seeing this on TV and they're seeing that they're getting away with it. And it's influencing other people to do it. They're like, what the fuck, you know?
Why don't we go do it?
I want a fucking iPhone 14, shit, you
I
know?
want 40 iPhones and a computer.
And they don't have that guidance at home, maybe. They don't have that you know, those parents that are willing to take the steps to change the behavior.
So who would have to hire the security in that position? Would that be Apple would need to, or does it become a governmental issue? Because it's almost becoming more like we've ostracized our police departments publicly so much that security seems like it's going to become a lot more of a privatized type of thing.
It's going to have to. You know, they can't really. I mean, they have mall cops that are at actual real police officers that are at malls in some cities. They have cops that are at high schools. They do what they can, but you know, it would require a lot more funding, which I don't quite understand why there isn't more funding. But it would have to be private. It's not like Apple can't afford to have some armed guards at every one of their stores.
For sure.
You know, and police would totally be behind it as long as there was proper training and communication. And we're going to have to go that route. It's eventually going to have to go that route. There's just no other solution.
Yeah, I agree with you. We had this. What about these? They had a thing I was looking at. Zach, if you can find this, it was about they were going to do robots. This was in San Francisco. Robot dog.
Yeah.
San Francisco will allow police to deploy robots that kill.
Yeah, so basically they're gonna. This just came out. A lot of people were talking about it, but the important distinction is that they're not arming them with guns. They're arming them with explosives, and they claim that it would only be used in the most extreme situations. So they won't be armed with guns. It would be explosives.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco Police Department in itself is one that what you're seeing right there, take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure it's completely irrelevant of exactly what's going on. I mean, you can see the title, San Francisco will allow police to deploy robots that will kill. That's a pretty absurd statement for what's probably really going on here.
Right. And the Associated Press put this out there. This is crazy.
Yeah.
That they would also do this.
Again,
they're about the most middle of the road, I felt like, AP. But, I mean, you're right, though. San
Francisco PD in itself, my knowledge of it is it's much like their community. You know, it's a very
hopeful group.
Yeah, a very hopeful group. You know, I mean, they're okay with a lot of stuff. They're really okay with the idea. There's so many things that they do. Let's make really readily available needles for heroin addicts. You know,
right.
Which I understand the argument.
Safe shooting or whatever, yeah.
I understand the argument of it, but there's just not a lot of thought process.
Well, they wanted to give swords to homeless people. I remember a couple years ago there was a thing about giving homeless people swords so they could help defend themselves. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing, dude?
Homeless, I mean, there's another great example, man. The homeless situation, we have fucked ourselves on that. We have totally fucked ourselves. When I first started in police work, there really is no available answer for homelessness. Because it's a mix of people. It's people that want to be there. It's people that are drug addicts. It's people that are mentally incapable. You know, we used to have the process where we would be able to, someone call, I got a homeless guy, he's taking a shit in front of my house. Mm-hmm. You know, we'd be able to go there, take that person and alleviate the problem for the person that's calling us. We would take them somewhere else. Let me take you to this park. Let me take you where can I take you? Is there anywhere I can take you? Take it to, let me take you 7-Eleven. I'll get you some water. I'll buy you a little something to eat, you know, and then you can go on your way. And they go, okay, I'll do that. Early on in my career, and I forget the agency, but a cop kind of did that where he took a homeless person away from a situation where someone was calling, drove him to the edge of the city and said, walk that way. So the idea was, you're not my city's problem anymore.
Okay.
And somehow some attorney got a hold of that information and decided that he was going to take this to court because that cop took someone that had not committed a crime and against his will transported him from one location to another, which is the definition of kidnapping. So they ended up going after this cop for kidnapping. So then what ends up happening by case law is it changes the process the way all police departments handle homeless people. Now there's no more doing that. So basically they even made it worse. Then they start saying, oh, you took that guy to jail and you left his cart full of shit here, which is full of
You have memorabilia, things from growing up, trophies from when he was in T-ball.
I wish. It's usually full of shit, man.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, just
yeah.
disgusting, you know?
Extra urine.
Yeah, socks full of weird shit that he chewed on or whatever. And they
glitter?
Yeah, whatever.
We saw a dude with a whole canister of glitter one time. We're like, what?
Well, I had a homeless guy that was so bad, and when we booked him in, his sock was, he had a athletic sock, you know, with the stripes on it, filled with cash for $3,000. And he was sitting in a gutter eating dirt, you know? It's just crazy that people are giving money. But they start saying that we have to book all their property. You literally got to take that shopping cart, individually go through it, itemize it, process it, and put a thing. So now cops went, oh, hell no.
Right, I'm not doing this now.
Oh, hell no. I don't have the time.
Right.
I don't want the disease. You've made it totally unreasonable. So again, society completely screwed themselves on how we as a society can help you with a problem. If you had a homeless guy sitting out here in front of your door, that cop's in a pickle. You know, he can still do things and try to convince this guy to leave, but all the real tools that we had, the real methods we used, the world got rid of them.
Well, why do we, and is it a lot of times it's lawyers that fucking ruin all this shit.
Lawyers ruin everything.
The lawyers really have. They've ruined everything.
Civil law has ruined everything. Civil law has destroyed our country.
It really has.
And in America, they love civil law. There's so many people getting rich, off civil law.
Man. But the mental expense and the emotional expense of all of that type of stuff, all of those rules, the laws, the impossibility of it, that the average human, the average American, I think, because this is really a lot of it's American issues. I think we're getting to the point where we're at our tipping point. A lot of people are on medication. A lot of people are stressed beyond the gills. People are not able to have children as easily anymore. Everybody's going through all this fertilization, stuff. I think there's tons of stressors. I think we're getting to that point where it's a little bit at the tipping point. You don't know at a CVS now if you are safe or not. Like I was there the other day and the makeup lady is now tussling with some fucking 6'4" man in there.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to, make sure that this guy doesn't mash up her station, because the guy's running around taking stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so then, you have people, they have to be enforcers now, and she's just the makeup person and the photo guy, It's like they shouldn't have to be enforcers. So it's like, and then the truth is they probably should just let insurance handle it or whatever, So it's like, I don't know. We've just gotten ourselves into this place. It feels like a lot of times where the people who are supposed to be helping us, our therapists, our police, are the people that are kind of like add this buffer to society to make us stay well, are kind of stressed to the gills, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to police the world coming up, especially now with everything that's going on. Who's going into law enforcement right now?
Yeah, what's that been like? Has there been lower amounts of people going in? Have you heard or anything?
No, I mean,
But it seems scary, yeah.
They've tightened the standards. They made it harder because the world's going like, the police are doing everything they can to go, we need the best candidates. We don't want these problems again in the future. The testing process of becoming a police officer it's extraordinary. I mean, it's really extraordinary, the tests I had to go through, psychologists, written tests, physical tests. I mean, there's just so many interviews, backgrounds. They went in my background. They went and talked to everybody.
No.
Oh, dude, everybody. They talked to my ex-girlfriends and everybody.
Ooh,
I was just,
that's a good one.
And they also seal it, and so you never get to know what they said, which is really
No,
fun.
you should get it when you're done.
Dude, on the way out, I knew where it was, and I thought many times I'm gonna go in there and fucking pilt this shit, but I didn't want to fuck with my pension. Who knows what they could do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but who's gonna police? Who's gonna do it? Who's gonna take this job? I remember as a kid, you know, again, I think today I wouldn't be able to be a police officer. Today they require, like, I got my degree when I was a cop, so I could become a detective.
Okay.
So I went to college in while I was working. Now they really won't even talk to you in the hiring process unless you have a degree. They're upping the
Really?
standards. Yeah.
And are they paying more?
Yeah. Well, it's progressive.
Oh,
you know,
that's
every
good.
year it's like 3%. I remember being a kid. I was 21 years old. And I was making like $60,000 a year. You know, for a 21-year-old dude, I was big pimping, dude.
Oh,
you know,
dude.
I was
Yeah.
huge. I was huge, and
I'd be
always
shooting bullets in the air and damn catching them in the mouth, dude.
I always felt like I was being fairly compensated, I guess, because once I got into it, it was so exciting. I hated the weekend. I loved to work. I couldn't wait to get to work the next day because what the fuck's going to go on today? That's how it was every day for a long time when I was young. And I always felt like the money was fair, you know? Just to give you an idea, California is the highest paid police officers in the world. They just
Oh,
are.
wow.
They're also the most trained, and I'm sure there's somebody that's going to disagree with that from somewhere else, but it is. It is.
Okay.
That's why a lot of the stuff you'll see like in, no bang on Kentucky, but some police officer in a place like Kentucky, you know, doing something stupid, and you're going like, that's crazy. The show Cops.
Yeah.
I actually had cops ride with me.
You did?
I did have cops ride with me. You'd be interested in how that goes, how that process is to get one show.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Remember that, Zach, so we don't forget that.
You watch, I watch Cops a lot of times and just go like, oh my God, I can't believe what this guy's doing. You know, their tacticals, their tactics and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I just don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like because I do feel like you need to pull as many people from different aspects of society just to have that rounded structure of you know, I had a lot of compassion for the arrest process for people going into it. This guy doesn't understand that. He's a good dude. He's doing the right thing, but he has no idea the impact of taking someone, putting him in handcuffs,
Putting him into a cage.
putting him in a cage. The guy had to go to work tomorrow.
Right.
We impounded his car. He's only got $300 in the car. It's just monstrous. And I had a real feel for that.
Right.
And in reality, if they had known everything about me, they would have probably said, nah, we're going to pass on it. And I was successful. You know, I wasn't the best or anything like that, but I was very successful. And I was good at the compassion aspect. I think if you went back and talked to everybody, they would go like, yeah, your heart was too big for this job to start with. And I kind of disagree with that. I just understood. I understood what we're doing here. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, you try to explain to somebody, anytime somebody dies in a car accident, in a murder, when I was a homicide detective for a period, you have to, somebody has to go tell that family that your loved one's dead, because they don't know it then. You know,
Do you try to act like when you walk up, do you try to act like you don't, like, because they're like, that would be the part for me. If a cop comes and knocks on my door, do you want to look like you have that information, or is the goal at first to not look like you have that information?
man, we are now in a conversation. That was one of probably the hardest aspect of police work, is notifying people that their loved one's dead. And when
Take me through one of them.
Okay. I'm going to give you a traffic accident. I had a
Okay.
traffic accident where a 16-year-old female